Welcome to the Special Parent Podcast. I'm Dr. Deanna Iverson, a proud mom of 3 boys and 2 incredible kids with special needs. I'm here to remind you that you're not alone on this journey. Whether you're navigating the highs, the lows, or those moments in between, this podcast is your weekly dose of hope, help, and heartfelt guidance. Together, we'll celebrate the victories, tackle the challenges, and connect with a community that truly understands. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and let's embark on this empowering journey together. You've got this. Have you ever wanted to explore alternative therapies, maybe in lieu of even medication? We are here today to talk about 2 alternative therapies that you can have for conditions like autism, ADHD, and more. Welcome to the Special Parent Podcast. I'm Dr. Deanna Iverson, and I'm joined here by a special guest today. This is my guest, Sheri Reichman. Sheri, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I'm so glad that you came here to join me today. Yeah. I've actually worked with Sheri for months now. I don't even know how many.
Even a year or more.
Might be that long.
Yeah.
So you've helped a lot with my kids. And so would you please let our guests know, what is your background? You work at East Valley Naturopathic Doctors, which is located in Mesa, Arizona. What is your background and what is it that you do?
Okay. My background, well, I'm a neurotherapist, which is a board certified neurofeedback clinician. And I got my start back in 2010 at a biofeedback clinic in Scottsdale. That's where I started my training. Neurofeedback is a form of biofeedback. And so naturally, the clinic wanted to introduce and offer neurofeedback services. And since I was already staff member there, it was natural for me to go start the training for that. And so that's where I started. And later just got my BCIA, which is the board certification for neurofeedback training. It's Biofeedback Certification International Alliance is what it stands for. But so I joined East Valley about 5 years later and ended 2014, beginning of 2015, to pick up neurofeedback services there. I'm working with Dr. Porter. And it's just blossomed and grown every year that we've gone to seminars and learn different techniques that are involved with neurofeedback training and different supportive therapies that help neurofeedback training as well with our special needs individuals and those without special needs. It helps everybody. You don't have to have a diagnosed issue to engage in neurofeedback and get benefit.
And some of what I'll bring up today is some of the research, so I'll touch a little bit on those. Just from some of the research that I did. So I found you guys. I work in a school and I was talking to a parent whose child was diagnosed with ADHD, but she felt there was more to it than that. And so she started looking for alternative therapies because she really didn't want to put her child on any of the medications that were offered for ADHD. And she found neurofeedback and had seen such success. I was talking to her about her child and the growth and all the things that and she told me about it. And I was like, what is this? So I just did a basic Google search and came upon East Valley Naturopathic Doctors. And that's how I started going with your practice. Like you said, I think it has been over a year now, but I don't know the exact date. So fact of the matter, it's been a while. And now I'm on my second son coming through with your practice. So I did start with Jaden first, who's my oldest. And I have seen absolutely incredible results with everything. So it's amazing. Great. I went from worried that, about a lot of things because of autism and because of his ADHD, just concerned about his ability to function and be successful as an adult. And now I don't have those worries. I just had the typical parent worries.
Sure.
He has made such growth and such improvement. And I know that a lot of it is due to the therapies he's been through. So we are going to talk about 2 different types of therapy that they offer at their facility, and she'll touch on some other things too. But this episode, this first one we're going to talk about is Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy. So that's the first one that we wanted to talk about. Now, my son Jaden did hyperbaric oxygen therapy during junior high, which was 4 or 5 years ago now. And when we did it, we initially did it as we found a facility way on the other side of Phoenix. This was actually during COVID, so not a lot was open at the time. And they had a metal chamber that was quite intimidating.
Yeah.
But it fit 6 people. And so it made my son comfortable. I could go in it with him. So I can actually speak a little bit to what hyperbaric oxygen therapy
some benefits
is like.
as well. So nice.
So yeah, I was able to do some of those therapies with him. And now for Trevor, though, your facility offers a different experience, which I'll have to be honest is a lot less intimidating.
Oh, good.
It didn't scare Trevor at all. And I can tell you right now that the experience definitely scared Jaden. We had several sessions where we just were trying to get him to be okay with going inside this big metal tube. And what Trevor's experience, I've actually taken pictures and posted on my Facebook page.
Oh, great.
He's like, oh, okay, this looks, kind of spacious like, but fun almost. So we'll start with here is, what is hyperbaric oxygen therapy? What is that?
Right. HBOT for short.
Yes.
It is a therapy that increases the oxygen absorption to the lungs and the under-oxygenated tissues of the body in a nutshell. So oxygenating the body, brain, tissues, lungs, everything enhances health and healing. It also reduces inflammation, and it's particularly good for the autistic community because those kiddos struggle with all of those things. They tend to have low oxygen to the brain. They have immune issues. They have inflammation. They have gut issues, and all those things can be helped with, hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I found when I started researching it. And so I looked up some articles so that our listeners could today just kind of hear some of that. And it says that there's a strong inflammation state associated with autism spectrum. It's linked to immune system dysfunction, neuroinflammation, neuroimmune abnormalities have been established with autism spectrum children. And these are key factors in development and maintenance. And so all of the symptoms that are associated with autism, as well as with some other conditions that are out there, especially children with other disabilities or children that have been through surgeries and just have inflammation in the body, or children that have been put under general anesthesia, those kinds of things. You can have sleep disturbances, you can have behavioral abnormalities. All of these actually have found to be, in research and studies and in my own personal children, we have seen a reduction in trouble, reduction in symptoms just from hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an anti-inflammatory in a sense.
Yeah. Well, many conditions involve poor circulation, which results in poor oxygenation of the tissues, including the brain. And the inflammation factor is largely rooted in inflammation in the gut. So if we have GI issues, poor nutrient uptake is present. And so that brain isn't getting oxygen, and it's not getting the fuel or nutrients that it needs for proper function. Yeah. So just simply increasing the oxygen levels, it has all of those beneficial effects of better nutrient absorption, better functionality, better circulation. Oxygen is really a base answer for optimizing function.
Yeah. And the best part that I liked about this was there are no side effects.
And then there's that.
Unlike a medication, I mean, even just taking ibuprofen, which is technically an anti-inflammatory, has side effects that can be associated with it. There are no side effects associated with this.
No damage is going to occur as a result of doing HBOT. There are a few things that one should be aware of. If at birth you've had a hole in the heart, you should not do hyperbaric. If you're taking antabuse for Lyme, hyperbaric oxygen therapy can be very beneficial for autoimmune issues, but if you're dealing with Lyme disease and you're taking antabuse, you should not go in the hyperbaric chamber. Certain chemotherapy agents, you can still do hyperbarics, but you need to just spread out the sessions. Many autistic kids specifically, it's recommended to do it daily. And a lot of other cases too, you just need a minimum of 6 hours between dives. So daily can bring about really great benefits. One of the studies too that we had talked about, the kiddos that were in that study were between ages of 2 and 7, and they did daily sessions for 40 sessions, and they had great benefits. So it's really safe. We've had infants go in the chamber with great benefit that were born with, challenges with the cord being wrapped around the neck or whatnot. And so they suffered a lack of oxygen for a time, and their APGAR scores were very low. And so this just really helped give them, I don't know, I can't wait till she ages. She's just very young yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing, her development as this young girl grows up.
Yeah, that's great. And like you were saying, so other conditions that it can be used for, there's a lot of research, Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
A lot of research on that one. You mentioned, of course, like just lack of oxygen in general. Or I also read traumatic brain injury.
Oh, yeah.
One.
Big time
blood
concussions.
Disorders. So like you said, not a hole in the heart, but a blood disorder was one that came up. And then they also have done studies recently on improved cognitive functioning.
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, my second son, which is starting currently working through sessions with you guys, he has a lot of learning disabilities and pretty much across the board in all areas, math, language, reading, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things I'm excited to see, because it talks about how hyperbaric oxygen therapy is going to increase his ability to learn, increase his cognitive functioning, and decrease the behaviors. And we've already started. So we saw the increase in behaviors, which is typical and expected. When you start any new therapy, you usually have an increase of behaviors. Yeah. But now we're already starting to see that decrease. And that doesn't mean at this point that the behaviors aren't happening at all, but a lot of times they're less intense and the recovery time is a lot faster.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot of hope for the direction that we're headed with it. So that kind of leads to, how does it work, and kind of what are the effects that people should expect to start to see?
Right. With HBOT, well, you're put into a chamber, and that chamber is pressurized to 2 to 3 times normal pressure. And this is what maximizes the oxygen absorption in the lungs, thus into all the other tissues of the body, much better than you can do with any kind of breath work at normal pressure. So as you just do these sessions through time and repetition, then that oxygenated tissue that was once lacking in oxygen can heal and grow and optimize and function. And so that's really kind of the mechanism behind it. You're kind of dosing the body with what it is starved of, and it can heal itself. It promotes healing. So like you had said earlier about, surgeries, it's going to increase healing with those wounds, or you've had an accident and have an injury due to that, then that's going to increase your healing time or decrease that recovery time. With learning disabilities, of course, you're fueling the brain and you're getting that circulation improved and the oxygenation improved, and so that brain can then function. Yeah. There's a term that we come to commonly with working with children with disabilities, but also those without disabilities. We're working with hardware and software.
I like it.
So the hardware is like the physical mechanisms or components of our brain or our bodies. And then there's the software, and that's how well is it functioning? Is it processing correctly? And so that's kind of where, the two work really well together, HBOT and neurofeedback, where we're supporting the hardware. Yes. And then we're improving the function of the software, more specifically with the neurofeedback.
Helping the body and the brain communicate.
Right.
And
that is You're so improving key. The function overall by
most of our kids are having behavioral issues because they're either unable to communicate or they're unable to understand what's happening within their own body, within their own system around them. And so this is going to help them improve that. So what was really neat was I was super nervous to do this with my middle son, Trevor. Super nervous because Trevor has had multiple ear surgeries. Right. He's had, I don't even know how many ear tubes. I think we've been through at least 10 sets of tubes on various levels. And so I was like, okay, there's just no way he can do this. No way he can do this. And I had in my head the metal tube, 6 people. So I can't test things out like I could. And so I was really grateful when I found your location because I didn't feel obligated to 6 other people in a tube. And I loved how basically the staff and me were in the room when it was being pressurized, and we, okay, tell us if it's hurting or anything else like that. And also he was able to have his phone or whatever it would be for another child. But for my son, if he could watch his phone and do his thing on there, he could sit for the whole hour, because it's an hour.
Yeah.
He could sit for the whole hour inside there. He didn't have any ear problems. And I thank you guys for that, because that happened because you guys were willing to start it real slow, to really just sit there and stare at the window. And then if it was starting to bother him, we would just stop and we could back off real slow. And so I really appreciated the staff for that. So if you kind of will talk about how is it that you can individualize the treatment a little bit for the needs if someone is afraid or doesn't know how their kid's going to handle something.
Right.
Whether it's pressure or time.
Right. Everything's a factor. That is, like you said, it's the beauty of having an individual. It's a private chamber for you. If the child's very young, and a parent can go in like you did in the big chamber, but it's just you two. And we can bring it up to pressure as slow as we need to. We've taken up to 15 minutes to bring a chamber up to pressure to make it most comfortable for someone with eustachian tube issues or even sinus issues that can be painful on that increase. It's like going up in an airplane or submerging down into very deep into water. You feel that pressure build up, and for young children, that's scary. They don't know how to equalize the pressure in their ears. So our staff is trained to help coach the children or individuals to, learn to equalize, maybe swallow. We've gotten creative with suckers and letting them suck on them. So it encourages swallowing. And then talking to them through the window. Or like I said, having a parent in there. Right. And then the depressurization can kind of feel a little uncomfortable as well. Not so much in the sit-up unit that you guys have been using. That's a new addition. So we have 2 personal chambers. One is a lay down. So you lay down in it. And that one tends to, when you're in that supine position or laying down, pressure by nature is a little higher in the head. Okay. So it can be a little more uncomfortable in that one coming up to pressure. Once you're up to pressure, that feeling goes away.
Once you're regulated in a sense.
Yeah. And you're just kind of riding there. It's very comfortable. And then once you start to decompress the pressure, which it's done very slowly to comfort level, then it's manageable by, again, equalizing. But being in the sitting up position like Trevor is, it's almost not an issue. When I've personally gone in there, I haven't even felt the need to equalize.
I haven't seen him even try or struggle with it or anything.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the first couple of times we went over all the techniques, right? And I do know, I think he was kind of thinking about it, but now that he's used to it, he walks in, he kicks off his shoes.
It's like his own little time to just do whatever he wants. Because like you said, you can take in a tablet, a phone, you can wear headphones because it can be loud if somebody's sensitive to sounds. You want to bring headphones. We provide earplugs or special noise canceling headsets for you to wear on the increase and on the filling it up and bringing it down from pressure just to help dampen the sound. But once it's up to pressure, it's not too bad. But they just sit and they do their thing and they have their own little time with their tablet or a book or whatever. And they can sleep in there if they want. They can curl up in the chair.
Right. Take a little nap. I mean, and that's the great part about HBOT is you don't have to be active in the therapy.
Right. No.
Your body is just kind of doing the natural work that it's meant to do once it gets that great oxygenation. And like you said, you can nap through it. I'll be honest, my listeners know I encourage you to bribe your children if you need to. And so, hey, if you're like, you get a whole hour of electronic time if you will go do this.
Score.
Some of the kids might be like, this is the best thing ever. How many days a week can we do this?
Right. I do get that feedback from a lot of kiddos. They're like, parents are like, this is the only time it gets screen time. And then they're really looking forward to their appointment. And then there's no fight in trying to get them to stop what they're doing. And it's time to go to an appointment that you just say the words and they go, ah.
Right. For children that have had many medical appointments, that word can be very anxiety riddling. So if you just say, hey, this is your HBOT electronic time, they're probably way more into it. Yeah. You mentioned, so there was a study that was done and they did it, was it 40 days in a row?
Yeah.
So obviously they're not going 40 days in a row. You guys don't work 40 days in a row.
Right.
So what are the options for someone who really wants to, outside of clinic times, are there any options for someone who wants to actually really get working on it?
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to do it every day for the best benefit.
Right. We only go 2
regular
days a week.
Dives. Yeah. Once, twice a week. If you can manage a third one a week, great. But yeah, clinics aren't open 24/7 and neither does your schedule allow for a trip into the clinic to do that. So we do rent units. You can purchase a unit. And we have a tech come in and help set it up in your home for you and show you how to use it. It's really pretty easy. And then you could use it every day if you want, or the three times a day, but you don't have to make that appointment. And
if you have multiple family members, so
there's that too.
You know, for example, I have a family member who has Lewy body's dementia. And then there's, my son, and I'm actually thinking Jaden might benefit from one more round before he goes off to college, just to kind of reset and just continue to promote healing and cognitive growth. And so I think about, if you're a family that has multiple family members, it actually might be beneficial for you, even financially, to rent a unit or do something like that, where you have it in the home and you can use it at your convenience. Right. And the cost might be offset also. So if they called your office, they could find out about that too then.
Right. Yeah.
So
there's we're very flexible and we try and work with everybody. If, we have payment plans, there's the rental units, which we try and make the rentals be a money saver for you, because it saves us, staff time and an appointment time if you're able to do it at home. The same goes for, we also offer rentals for neurofeedback training, actually, which we'll talk about another time.
I did that one, so we'll talk about that next time.
But it's a money saver, and we're just trying to make everything as easily accessible as possible for people to get the help that they need.
Yeah, for sure. Before we kind of wrap this one up to talk about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, one of the things that we talked about here was insurance, because obviously there's a cost associated with anything that we're going to do. And I know for us, insurance has not covered it, but I haven't attempted to, and I forgot what it's called. You probably know. I haven't attempted to get money from insurance. So can you explain how that could work?
Yeah. So our office is an office of naturopathic physicians, and they are not contracted with any health insurance company. It's health insurance doesn't cover naturopathic services, so it's not even an option. It's really, really sad. So, but what we can do is provide what's called a super bill to you. So if you come to our office for services and you pay for those services up front and those services are completed, then we can provide a document called a super bill. That's what the insurance company will look for. And you can submit that to your insurance for reimbursement. And most of our clients have come back with 80%, some 100%. It just depends on your plan.
Heck, even 20% something better than nothing.
Right. And they're just looking for the doctor's recommendation, proper diagnosis codes, and then the plan. And then they need to see that the plan was then followed out and paid in full. And then they'll say, okay, well, we'll reimburse X amount. So it's worth it in the end.
It's definitely worth it, at least to try to get that. I know So for us, like Jaden, I didn't even realize that was an option when he first did some of his. So we've probably timed out on that. So that's probably a timely thing with insurance
probably
too.
Within your year.
Yeah. So just something to keep in mind if you guys try it. Keep in mind the time, and you may have to. I don't know how you would submit and stuff like that, but I'm sure every insurance company and you guys can probably help them walk through that.
Right.
So that's really important.
It's a service that not offices offer because it is a little bit of work on our end, but it's worth it to us if it enables you to get the services you need.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about HBOT, and both of my sons have gone through HBOT and neurofeedback, which we're going to talk about next. But you can use them individually and you can use them together.
Right.
And so, like, for example, Jaden did HBOT in junior high, but then he did neurofeedback in high school. So there was a gap between the two.
Right.
Whereas Trevor is going in and we're spending an hour and a half at the office and we're doing HBOT, neurofeedback, all in the same visit.
Yeah.
Is there an upside to doing it one way or the other, downside besides an hour and a half in the facility? But what are the benefits of one way or the other?
Well, they're so synergistic that they help each other, right? Yeah. So Hyperbaric is very supportive service to really any kind of therapy you're going to engage in. Neurofeedback, it's helpful because of the direct impact Hyperbaric has on the health of the brain and its functionality. And then neurofeedback is kind of enhancing the function a little bit further and a little bit more specifically than just simply increasing the oxygen to the brain so it can behave or work well as it's designed to do. Neurofeedback is getting a little more specific on training certain brain waves toward an optimal state of function. So with combining the two, you're really enhancing your neurofeedback experience because you're giving extra support to the brain's health. Separately, you got benefit as well because you supported Jaden's brain's health with his prior HBOT, sessions, and he felt and saw the benefits of that. And then later on, he engaged in neurofeedback, and I firmly believe that enabled him to respond as well as he did to the neurofeedback. Because the HBOT does get rid of what can be complicating factors to responding as good as you can with neurofeedback training when there's inflammation present or gut issues or low oxygen, then things like that tend to become complicating factors and they can slow your progress. It won't prevent you from progressing from neurofeedback, but it just makes you get benefit faster.
Yeah. And with Trevor, before we even started therapy, Dr. Porter and I met and we went over some other issues that he was having. Inflammation pinged on him big time. So we knew HBOT was basically necessary. But before we even started that, we did the whole gut analysis for him. Yes. We found an allergy. He only had one. Remember how funny that was? We were actually expecting more than that, but he had one egg. Both white and yolk, but that was it. And everything else was green and golden.
So lucky. He got so lucky.
He had egg. So we've eliminated egg from his diet. And then you guys said, I think we need to keep looking at other stuff because some of the basic things aren't working. And so we did a fecal analysis, which I was not loving.
Yeah, it's a little traumatic.
Did not love to do the poop sample. I'll tell you that off the bat, but I'm really glad I did. Yeah. We discovered he had 2 parasite infections, treated those before we even started all of this. So now my son's gut is really getting healing because we've gotten rid of what was causing the inflammation to begin with.
Right.
And now we're working on healing his gut and his brain and all the things. So I loved how your office, there's actually 2 parts to your office that work together in a sense. There's the doctor's office side of it, which does more the naturopathic doctor. And then there's the therapy side of it.
Yeah.
And so I love how that is a combination for you guys. And so I wanted listeners to know that it's an all-inclusive practice.
It really is. And getting started is we try and get you as all-inclusive from the get-go. Yes. And this can segue into our next topic of neurofeedback as well. When you first, if you are interested in seeing if we can be of help to you or your child, we recommend you start with a brain map, a QEEG. And then you can meet with Dr. Porter, who can review those results with you, but also talk about other health conditions or issues you may have concerns about. And I swear it's just it's the most comprehensive way to get the most comprehensive plan written out for you because he can he can draw up lab orders for you
Yep,
to
he
test
can.
for certain things.
Which you can get done at a facility that your insurance does cover.
Yep, you can go, we'll give you the lab order. You can go to Sonora Quest or wherever you want to go, or you can have the labs drawn in our office. We have a phlebotomist, and she's great. She's very gentle and so good with the young kiddos that are really scared. So a choice is yours. But yeah, you're really getting the whole shebang, because with neurofeedback, especially with kiddos with ASD or other disabilities, they come with complicating factors. I say that a lot, but it's true. It is
And
what
we
it
know
is.
it as parents,
and
right?
you've got to address them also in order to get the best results, especially when you're seeking to eventually go into neurofeedback training.
And that's what I love about this, is we're treating the whole child. And we're treating the whole child without, in a sense, without having what do you call it? Side effects. That's the word I was looking for.
Right.
Treating the whole child without side effects. And so just before we sign off, I have to throw this out there. My middle son, who was on multiple medications for behavior, it included both behaviors in and outside of the classroom and everything else. We have now reduced that down to one medication.
Wow.
And that one medication is not even in the narcotic form of like Adderall and Ritalin and all those others. It's not even in that class or that category anymore. So I do believe in this, and that is why we're talking about it. So we're gonna pause here for this one. We have really gone over hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBOT. If you actually Google HBOT and East Valley Naturopathic Doctors, you will find a lot of great information. Their website is full of information. It's lacking Miss Sheri, so I just want you to know that you won't see her on there yet.
Well, maybe you will now.
Because I'm going to put it out there. But we are going to wrap this up. It's a good time to take a break, and we'll talk to you next time when we review neurofeedback. Thank you for joining us, and remember, you've got this.
This program is made possible by friends and partners of the Special Parent Podcast. For more information and to join our mailing list, visit specialparent.org.